What up, everybody? It's the Society Sound Off! Yeah! One more evening coming to a close with our, hour-long discussion of all things film. We're sort of randomly talk about various different things. We got a little bit of a structure, but it's essentially our freeform segment, the Society Sound Off. This is the 12th time we've done it. We started episode 16 is the first time. You'll find a 16.4 or a 0.4 at the end of these. We did miss episode 25 for some YouTube reasons. We'll have to meet with them at some point about that. But anyway, I'm Jonathan Betzler. Apparently I'm the academic. That's what my graphic designer says. And I'm one of your hosts this evening. And I got two other fun little hosts, guys. Starting with Drunk Davie. On a scale of 1 to 10, Davie, how drunk are you?
I am not. I am not. But, oh well. Next time. Yeah.
J Money, we got we got to get him drunk at some point. Again, that was the best episode. I see Townsend.
I know. What the hell?
And these guys don't have their lower thirds. I'm the only special one. Anyone's name is going to remember it here. So.
That's okay.
J Money, how are you feeling so far about the evening?
I feel good. I feel pretty upbeat, excited. I got a question for Davie Joe, actually. Davie Joe.
Yeah.
Davie Joe.
Yeah.
How about them Mets? And I'm asking you that because I honestly have no idea, but I live in New York. So tell me how the Mets are doing.
I mean, I hate the Mets, but
don't make him do that.
That's why I want to go to you. Go to your enemy.
The point is the Phillies are doing much better than expected, right, Davie? At least
way better than expected, and I mean they are basically Indiana Jones, and the Mets are It's a Wonderful Life. So.
Well, I was going to say the Mets are the Nazis, but sure. Okay.
Wouldn't the Yankees be the Nazis in this scenario?
Yes, we hate the Nazis.
No, the Yankees. Wouldn't the Yankees be the Nazis?
Nah.
No, the Yankees are in a different league. They're my favorite team, along with the Phillies in the National League.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand sports.
They're in different leagues.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah. All right, which is a perfect segue to Davie Diatribe! Yeah! My God, it's the first segment of every sound off. People love this segment, not really. And it is Davie just waxes on and waxes off about anything and anything. Lately, we've been having fun in the sense that I've been giving him topics to choose from. Topics in the industry that are buzzing around the industry. So I've got 3 topics that he's going to choose from. Davie, are you excited and ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so he doesn't know what these topics are. He's going to pick a number here. Can I get them all on one screen?
Pick 3.
Way?
Pick 3. Pick 2. Pick 3. Pick 2. Pick
1.
1. Yeah.
What is it?
1.
Picks topic number 1, which is
boobs.
The screening room, which I'm going to explain. Have you heard about the screening room? Do you need me to explain?
I need you to explain.
Have you heard about it at all?
I have not.
Okay, so the screening room is a very controversial thing that's buzzed about in the entertainment industry. A tech pioneer, Sean something, I did my prep a couple weeks ago before my job started last week, so I don't remember his last name at the moment, but he is basically proposing this idea where first-run movies are available in your living room for $50. $50 a pop. Like the weekend, they come out.
Gotcha.
There are filmmakers like J.J. Abrams and Steven Spielberg who are very in support of this. Obviously, exhibitors are very upset. And it is very controversial. And there are even some filmmakers don't like the idea. They like the purity of the big screen and so forth and so on. So it is a very hotly debated topic, very controversial. And the question is, some people think it would be better for the consumers. Some people think it's the last stand for cinemas. So Davie Joe, that's basically the where we're at. Screening room. What do you think?
So you're saying $50 to see the movie opening weekend?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like a lot of money to me. I don't know.
And that was Davie's Diatribe, everybody! Here we go! That's a. If you watched before, you expected that. You knew that was coming.
Yeah, I know. It's real funny. So,
it's almost funnier every time because of Davey's reaction every time.
yeah. Okay.
Davey Joe, the price point is on purpose, obviously.
You know, I know it's not gonna take off at that price. It's gonna flop. Now I think it could do fine. I mean, but not at that price point. That's too much money. It's too much.
Wait, can I just interject one thing though, Davey Joe,
Please.
before you get into your
Yeah.
deep into the Diatribe? I mean, $50 for opening weekend. That's a family of 4 going to the theater. So it's commiserate from that point of view.
That's the counter argument.
Yeah, I mean, a family of 4 in Los Angeles or Manhattan, sure. I don't know.
I mean, actually, a family of 4, it would be like $64 in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, it might do okay there.
Well,
but,
I don't know. I mean, because the industry is here, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. They may just not do that on principle. Who knows? I don't see it being successful at that price point though. I just think it's too much. Do
you see why it would be at that price point?
Oh, absolutely. I do see. I mean, I think that I don't know that they could get it to a point where it'll be palatable to the studios.
I mean, because their target audience is not, the McKay family in Indiana.
Well, it's people who are going to the movies. I mean, they basically
not just the people that are going to the movies. I mean, like this is a high-end product.
Yeah, it's a high-end product, but I mean, at some point you gotta make the money back on the film, right? So you got.
Well, it's also a political thing. Well, yeah, I mean that's why it's so high. You know what I mean? Because they don't want it. I mean, like the reason that they are coming in with this price point is so they feel like it won't kill necessarily the cinema business, the actual theater business.
Okay, all right. So basically, I was kind of
They're
assuming
looking to give customers another option. I'm not necessarily for the screening room. I'm mainly playing devil's advocate.
Yeah.
But the price point is not my issue.
My question is, I mean, is that as well as the theaters, or I mean, to my way of thinking, I don't think the movie theaters are gonna show anything that is available at home on day one. Not most of them, not the chains at any rate.
Well, I mean, they might have to. I mean, or they might. I mean, like like J.J. Abrams is in support of this. So would the theaters turn down Star Wars, whatever the new title is? There was a rumor about what it might be. Fall of the Resistance, I think it's called. Are theater chains going to turn that down because it's on screening room?
Well, I mean, I guess not. I mean, I guess if the titles are big enough titles, then I guess they're kind of in a spot. I know that they didn't put Crouching Tiger, the new Crouching Tiger movie, in most of the theaters because it was on Netflix on day one. Now, of course, that wasn't $50, so maybe at that
Netflix
price point.
At the end of the day, adds up to, over a course of a year, adds up to quite a lot. 13 times 12, is that about right? $150, maybe 160 something.
Well, if you're just doing the streaming, what is it, $12, $11 or something like that? Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. If they can figure out a way a price point that's high enough to where the theaters will not boycott, but low enough.
I mean, they're already boycotting at 50.
Yeah, and that's why. Okay, I'm
not saying they're. I mean, like, they're not boycotting anything. Nothing's been put in place. It's not it hasn't happened yet. But the technology's in place, and it's something that's they're trying to launch.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's got to be a piracy concern. I mean, on day one to have a digital stream into people's homes.
Well, if it's already available, I mean, I would think I don't know. I mean, like, I would think that deflates some concerns.
Well, you think so? I mean, I think that it'll be out on the internet in a really good looking copy, like on day one. You know.
Okay. Do you have more on this?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I
Jay
think
Money,
I think it's a big risk.
go ahead.
I think it's a big risk.
Big risk to whom?
I think it's obviously it's a big. I think it's a big risk to the studios, and I think it could ultimately be really bad for the theaters.
How is it a big risk to the studios? From a piracy point of view?
Yeah.
Okay. Because some studios are obviously in favor of it because it will bring them a good amount of money potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Jay Money, do you have an opinion on this, or would you rather not?
Well, I guess I'm curious because I think determining what the target audience for this kind of service is really does affect whether or not you could say it's going to be bad for the distributors or not, or for theaters at least. It's not really clear to me who the target is. I mean, JB, the way you're talking about it, you're saying it sounds like it's more for like Hollywood exclusive people.
Oh no! I wouldn't say Hollywood exclusive necessarily. I would say upper middle class that don't have to live here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I would. And families, certainly large families.
Well, see now, if it's for families, that to me would be much more concerning from a theater perspective. If it's for, upper people that are really just invested in film, and it's really more about a specialized experience for a solo viewer.
Well, if you're invested in film, you want to go to the theater because I mean, like that, the filmmakers that are against it are against the purity of it, the lack of purity.
Well, it depends on your setup, though, as well. I mean, I guess if you're talking about people that have incredibly expensive or well set up home theaters.
I mean, sure, but I would much rather have it in a theater because the whole point is it's a communal experience. You know what I mean? Like that's the whole.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess it depends on where you are, but increasingly the communal is dirtier and dirtier. I mean, I know a lot of people that actively avoid going to theaters for movies because
that's why the extra money, like you're paying for that convenience of not having to do that.
Yeah,
but I mean, that's also taking away the going out, the going out process. You know what I mean? Like it's taking away. We're already getting more and more disconnected, and that's one more thing that you take away potentially.
Right.
In terms of interconnectivity.
From my perspective, I'd love to see. I don't know if I assume that whoever's investing in this has already done market research, but I would love to see what kind of audience groups are responding to this because, like to your point, going to a movie theater and going out to a movie theater is a very specific kind of process. Staying in to watch a movie is also a very specific kind of process. I don't know which consumers want what. I don't know if a family of four would automatically take a night in as opposed to a night out. I don't know if there are certain reclusive, high-end movie watchers that would much prefer that as well. It really, if it's a very small demographic, then I don't think it's going to actually have that much effect. If it's something that ends up being really, like impressive to people, then that's a big concern. I would hate to see a theater system go out like the arcades used to.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea though. Davie, and certainly we talked about it longer than I thought we would, and I've been wanting to talk about it for a while because it's been much ballyhooed and much discussed in the trades in the last 2 months. Davie, you want to sum it up for us?
I think it's a big risk. I think it's potentially the beginning of the end.
And that's perfect segue to that photo. Davie's Diatribe, ladies and gentlemen. That has been Davie's Diatribe. Jay Money, was that a pretty good diatribe for Davie?
Yeah, Davie Joe, would you say it was like the apocalypse?
No. Well, I'm writing that down.
He did say the beginning of the end, though.
The beginning of the end, yeah. It seems kind of like that.
So, all right. Next up is our next segment. Where's LeBouef? Very quickly. We did a segment last week because I actually had a friend who was punched in the face because he looked like Shia LaBeouf. That's episode 27.4, I guess. This episode, I wanted to see if Jay Money had heard the latest news about Shia LaBeouf's next film role. Did you hear this point?
Actually, this is very concerning. Vamp. Yeah, no, I haven't heard what's the next role. Is it Holes 2?
It is not. It is what?
Holes 2, getting back in there. Holes 2, back in the holes. You never saw Holes?
Holes. I kept hearing a B. I'm like, bowls? Like a bowling thing? Like Kingpin?
I'd go see that movie too.
In the 70s, there was an intense rivalry between a couple tennis players. A Swedish tennis player by the name of Bjorn Borg, and an American tennis player and Bjorn Borg's played by Stellan Skarsgård, I believe.
Yeah.
And an American tennis player who is, you want to take a guess?
Is it Agassi?
No.
In the 70s?
I don't know when tennis stars were.
Is that pre-McEnroe?
It is McEnroe.
Yeah.
McEnroe.
Shia LaBeouf as John McEnroe in this
Wow.
McEnroe-Borg rivalry movie.
Okay.
Thoughts, J Money?
Which one's McEnroe? Is he the bald guy?
Balding, I guess.
the one
McEnroe.
that's famous
You don't know
for
John
taking-
McEnroe? John
the one-
McEnroe is famously. I thought you'd appreciate this because John McEnroe is famous for his on-court arguments. He would throw his racket. He did all sorts of crazy things like rage.
Yeah.
Poor
You
sports
cannot
stuff.
be serious. That was his line.
What do you mean?
You cannot be serious with what he was.
Oh, right, that's his line. I thought you meant about casting Shia LaBeouf as John McEnroe. But I think it's actually might be perfect casting. J Money?
I mean, they're about the same height, right? So it kind of makes sense.
I don't know about their height. All right, this is a failed segment. that was Where's LeBouef, which I guess didn't go as well. If he doesn't know John McEnroe, I guess he doesn't. He doesn't get to play. No.
Maybe you answered where LeBouef is. He's on the tennis court. That was a very successful Where's LeBouef segment.
Yes, I know where he is. I know he's going to be, but we haven't seen him in a movie in a while. So I think, in particular, I feel like
Isn't there something that just came out with him in it? No? Am I thinking of something else?
I don't know. Is there?
To the internet.
Yeah, aren't you
Yeah,
supposed to be?
especially
You're
because I
supposed
can't
to be on top of
find
that, J Money.
What's that?
You're supposed to be on top of that.
your job.
I didn't know there was
I can't
LeBouef.
find it yet. J Money, what was the name of the segment where we redid these movies? I thought it was Second Run. Oh, here it is. I found it.
That sounds
All right.
right.
We are behind, so I'll try to go through this quickly. Although, damn, I wanted to talk about these movies. We're about 3 minutes behind. Society's Second Run, and this is where movies come up, in our segments that one of us will say, you know what, I haven't seen that movie, and then we come back, we see it, and we talk about it because sometimes you're wondering. I wonder when the other person talk about it.
Okay. Chia in Fury, which is pretty recent. So
A couple of years ago.
no, 2015, right? 2014.
14.
What was?
2014, Fury.
Oh, right. Oh, and he was so good in that. 2014. He's so
No,
good.
he was awesome. Yeah.
But I mean, well, that feels like long ago. I don't think I'm wrong in that.
No, it was.
It was new for me, so that's what
I think that's a fair.
Are we going to talk about that now, or?
we talked about it already, dude. Come on.
Yeah. And
Third run.
thank you to Davie Joe for watching tonight's show. So can I get back to my segment here? I had this slide up forever.
Yeah.
All right. Second run. Our 1990 show was it still remains one of our most successful shows. We did a whole retrospective of films of 1990. We broke down all the Oscar races of that year, all the major Oscar races. It was really fun to do. I think I speak for all of us when I say that.
Yep.
But since then, and if you've been following me on Twitter, you know that in preparation for that show, we did back in February, I had all these 1990 movies in my Netflix queue, and I do DVD, not streaming. But since we've done the show, there have been other movies that have stayed on the queue that have just shown up, and I just watched them, and I figure, you know what, it might be worthwhile talking about them, especially this one, in the sense that it was the year of. I mean, obviously we talked about Shoshani Tutanka Uwachi, which is Sue for Dances with Wolves, and that won the Oscar for Best Picture and Best Director, Best Screenplay, many other Oscars, directed by Kevin Costner. It was Kevin Costner at the height of his powers, but he had one other 1990 movie, and that's where we are here. This is Revenge, directed by Tony Scott, the late Tony Scott. Have you gentlemen seen Revenge?
No.
You've never seen this movie?
No.
And Davie Joe is very studiously writing it down. Nice job, Davie Joe.
Got it.
This movie is very, very bad, in my personal opinion. Huge narrative issues. So you guys haven't seen it, so I'm reluctant to talk too much about it. But let me just say there are tons of random people. For our audience members that have seen it, throughout the movie, there's tons of random people that suddenly want to help him. They come out of nowhere, and they're like, I knew somebody who knew somebody who heard you were in trouble, and I'm here to help you. And it keeps happening, and it's like, what is happening? And you know, like there's at one point he speaks Spanish, later on he doesn't, and it's for like this thriller, potentially like revenge movie. It's not very active. Everybody's like, you know. I mean, it's sort of like slow, and which is very not Tony Scott-like. Now, I will give her credit for being super sexy. Madeleine Stowe. I don't have pictures of her, but they have sex while driving in a Jeep, which is the famous scene from the movie.
Seems plausible.
But again, there's no reason in 1990 that Madeleine Stowe should be playing a Mexican woman. She looks great. She's fine. She does a decent job. But there's several other Mexican actresses that could have done it.
That's a shitty thing.
That's terrible.
Interesting enough, she would reinvigorate her career on a TV show also called Revenge. Synergy, ladies and gentlemen.
Good call.
The movie is based on a novel by acclaimed writer Jim Harrison. The novel, apparently, a novella, is very highly regarded, but the movie is quite bad in my opinion. I always try to look the best at some of these movies, but Revenge is not among them. I can't believe you guys haven't seen this movie.
It sounds like we shouldn't have anyway, based on what you're saying. I mean, I
guess so, but I mean, like, it was Kevin Costner at the height of his powers, and it seems like the kind of movie, J Money. The camera's on Davie Joe right now. Maybe I shouldn't have done that, but it seems like the kind of movie that you would have gone to see as a 10-year-old. It's based on what you've been telling us about your 10-year-old experiences.
This is absolutely true, but honestly, I don't think I've ever even heard of this movie before, so maybe I just wasn't like tuned into the right channels. I mean, if you had told me best scene was them having sex in a Jeep while he was driving, sure, maybe I would have accidentally, jumped at that idea. We should put together a top 5 best having sex while driving scenes. I think at some point, I think that should qualify. Like if that's your best comment
if
on a movie,
top 5 in that regard, I will definitely consider the revenge scene.
There's a lot of those kind of scenes out there that end up being like the scenes that people are like, that's the scene from this movie to remember. So,
Yeah. So and people definitely. I knew that scene was coming, so I'd heard about that scene. But I watched one other 1990 movie coming, and it was one that I'd seen before, but hadn't we watched it since 1990? It made my top 10 from 1990. My original top 10 from 1990, the one I made as a 34-year-old, 25 years ago. So I rewatched it, and over the years I'd sort of dismissed it as not being as good as I remember it. And I think it was number 10 out of the 19 movies I saw in 1990. But now I've seen a lot more movies. It didn't make the top 10, and it still wouldn't. But it was a lot better than I remembered it. And we talked about it a little bit.
Yes.
In the 1990 review show.
Yes.
And David and Money, you said you saw it twice in the theaters.
I saw it twice in the theaters. I saw it again. I saw it last year on HBO.
Okay, so you've seen it very recently.
I did see it very recently, yeah, and it really stuck with me.
What's that?
It really stuck with me on this most recent viewing.
Yeah, me too. And Davie Joe, I assume you've seen it.
I saw it one time in the theater in 1990.
And not since then. Is there a reason you haven't revisited it?
No, not really. I would watch it again.
Well, you might have to, and we'll revisit it on another second run. Look, I mean, and you liked it when you rewatched it, didn't you, J Money? You were saying it stuck with you?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely saw a lot of the flaws that I didn't see when I was, 9 or 10 whenever I saw it the first time, but there's so many weird, wonderful aspects to this movie. I mean, it's such a quirky movie. And even just from a technical standpoint, what they were able to accomplish just from that point of view is amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
It's really amazing. And that's what really, that was the first thing on the craft elements, or the first thing that I wanted to talk about. I mean, the cinematography, Vittorio Storaro, one of the all-time greats. The cinematography is terrific. Art direction. The editing, I think, is really strong. We've talked about editing. And, of course, the makeup. I mean, huge makeup. And it won 3 Oscars. It won 3 Oscars, one of which was for makeup. Another was for art direction. So, I mean, and it got 7 total nominations, including Al Pacino's performance here. So, I mean, it was acknowledged to some degree. It was not as big of a hit as they thought it would be. It was successful, but they thought it would be like Batman successful.
Yeah, it's
instead
funny 'cause- oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, they were hoping for merchandising money and all that sort of thing, and it just didn't. It didn't go that route, and it certainly hasn't lasted the way Batman has.
No.
But I mean, it's a good movie, and the quirkiness I think is really strong. Now I have some issues with it that I'm gonna get to later, but I want to focus on the positives here. Do you remember anything good about the craft elements, David Joe?
I don't remember a thing. That's
Yeah, it's been a while. You'd have to watch it again. I mean, really,
yeah,
to get it.
I should.
I mean, especially now in the post-digital age. If you go back and watch it now, knowing how they would shoot it nowadays if they made this movie, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And it's mostly built sets, you know what I mean? Like actual, like on a soundstage stuff.
Yeah.
So, and did you have more you wanted to say about the makeup? Did I cut you off on that part?
Wait, me or Davy Joe?
You. Sorry, J-Man, it's you.
Oh. Just it's fascinating to watch all these really famous people that you know very well sort of transformed and made horrifically ugly. I mean, there are so many amazingly grotesque elements in this film. Certainly the makeup is a large part of that. Certainly the way that it kind of creates these uncanny, cartoonish characters is a really large element to the way it feels unsettling almost in a way, you know.
Yeah, but also detailed and true to the strip, the comic strip. It's a film
absolutely.
that actually successfully captures the comic strip in an unlikely way.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because in a lot of ways, it's not just that it captures the comic strip. It captures like the limited convention of printing at the time the comic strip was made. I mean,
that's a really good point. Another thing that I think lifts the movie, and it did get one Oscar nomination that we talked about. I think the performances are really strong. Pacino got the Oscar nomination, and he's a little hammy, but in the perfect sort of way. But I mean, like, I think they're all quite good. I mean, Warren Beatty is exactly what it needed to be. I think Glenn Headley is Tess Trueheart is really strong. I mean, and all the cameos between Dustin Hoffman and James Caan and Paul Sorvino as Lips Manless. I mean, like they are invested in Walt in his vision here, and I think that's really good. And let's address the elephant in the room. I think Madonna's perfect for Breathless Mahoney. I mean, like, almost too perfect. I mean, like, it's an ideal role for her that she does admirably. Like, I don't know about, the double side of the character, and I'll get to that in a minute, but, I mean, I think she's really strong. I mean, at least when she's Breathless, I feel like, she's everything that Breathless is supposed to be. Like sort of a live-action Jessica Rabbit type character.
Yeah, well, actually, I think it's really interesting that you bring that up because for me, you're talking about how they were hoping that this movie would become sort of like in the same realm of Batman. This movie, to me, is actually much more closer to Who Framed Roger Rabbit because of the weird sort of disconnect between cartoonish aspects and like incredibly adult aspects. And that, to me, is probably the difference between this and Batman in a lot of ways. Batman is still, as much as it was a dark movie, there was still a certain innocence to it, whereas this movie actually had some questionable dialogue, some questionable violence in a lot of ways. I mean, there are some really seriously dark parts of this movie that are surprising even to see now.
Yeah.
Also,
the potential affair between Breathless and Dick is awkward at times, and not in a bad way.
Plenty, and also Madonna is practically topless at certain points in this movie.
I have no complaints about that.
No complaints, but I mean, considering who it was targeted for, even as a kid in the theater, I felt a little weird about the whole aspect. So.
And yet you went to see it again.
Oh yes, I did. Yes.
Now, here's the thing that struck me the most. Now, it won the third Oscar it won was for song, and it won for the song Sooner or Later. And the songs were mainly written by Stephen Sondheim, the Broadway great.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that.
Oh, yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Sooner or Later is a good song, but it's actually my third favorite song in the whole bunch because the big show number is More, the song where she's singing about, it's a very clever song, the lyrics. And then I want to play for you guys this song, which gets completely forgotten about it. And when it came on in the movie, I'm like, oh, yeah. And it is so beautiful, this song. And it's very short, so bear with me.
Only the blues. Why keep concealing everything you're feeling? Say it to her. What can you lose? Maybe it's yours. She's had clues which she chose to ignore. Maybe though she knows and just wants to go on as before, as a friend, nothing more. So she closes the door. Well, if she does, goes over to.
Davie, Joe, can we get sued yet? For sure.
Yeah,
Past the safety zone.
we're definitely pushing it.
But what if she goes? At least now you have part of her. What if she had to choose? Leave it alone. Hold it on. Better alone. Don't even begin with so much to win. There's too much to lose.
All right, there you go. You get the idea. Does anybody know? I didn't hear what was going on between you two there. What were you guys saying?
I was saying we were about to get sued.
Oh, oh, come on. We're all friends here. Davie, does anybody know who was singing with Madonna there?
No.
Jay Money, you saw the movie.
Yeah, no, I don't remember who's singing. I did have the... Go on.
Sondheim's great collaborator, Mandy Patinkin, who's done many Sondheim musicals over the day, and he's got that amazing falsetto voice. I mean, like, these are Broadway-level songs. Like, obviously, you know, Sondheim is who he is, but he didn't punt on this one. Like, these songs,
No.
and, like, it's weird to think about it in this, you know, big summer movie, you know? But they're outstanding, and they're detailed, and they're lovely, and they're forgotten about because Dick Tracy is forgotten about to some degree. The movie actually had 3 soundtracks: the Madonna version, the score by Danny Elfman, and this little extra soundtrack that has modern artists doing 30 songs that I picked up. So the merchandising, you know, of the music even was a big part of it.
I had the Madonna version.
Yeah, you probably picked the right one. So you must have heard that song before then, because it was.
Oh yeah,
on.
I know that song very well, actually.
It's beautiful, is it not?
Yeah, no, it's a really good song. It's really, I mean, there are a lot of really nice soul. I mean, that's why I guess I'm surprised to I'm not surprised. It's amazing to me that it was Sondheim. I mean, I don't, you know, when I was that age, I wouldn't have known who Sondheim was. Now I do. So it's like, yeah, of course.
It makes me wonder what happened to the great movie song. I feel like that was such a big part of the '80s, and it's not something we talk about much anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's you know, where are our Ghostbusters theme? You know, like the Ghostbusters and these chart-topping hits that were, you know, Up Where We Belong or what have you. We don't. It doesn't exist anymore. And the music, the pop music, and some of the, like, what's that song, Crazy for You from Vision Quest? You know, like, there's so many music, so many songs that are tied to these movies that enhance the movies. Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now from Mannequin. I mean, like, I'm coming up with random examples, but you know, I mean, like, no, they're great songs, and they enhance the movies, and we don't. It's not something you see a lot of anymore, and I don't understand it because it was good. It was a good time. So anyway, that brings me to the main issue I had with the. Oh, I did want to say, like, I'm calling right now on Warren Beatty and Stephen Sondheim, and I'm saying Dick Tracy can go to Broadway. These songs, add a few more. Idea. Back to Business is another one that's already existing. There's a ton of them. There's like 5 of them that are in the movie. Add 5 or 6 more, and like the wardrobe, the set, all that stuff could be a really effective Broadway musical, and the property's there, and I think and Disney's already making musicals. I think it's highly worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right.
That's an interesting thought.
Thanks, man. Last note about Dick Tracy is my trouble with it, and it's the script. Everything else works so well, and the script is sort of, like the real weak link, and that's the one thing that can't be a weak link. I feel like in the actual plot, there's a lot of overused gangster motifs that felt a little tired. Even if they did come from the comic strip, it felt like, the plot of the no face person and all these things, was intricate enough that they could have, and there was enough for adults that they could have enhanced the plot a little bit. You know what I mean? And also, the kid didn't work. The Charlie Korsmo thing felt really awkward, and he's too involved with the action. There's the scene I want. He's almost like the Penny Inspector Gadget again. He doesn't need to be there, and the whole idea of him being Dick Tracy Jr. that's really awkward. And then in terms of the relationship between Dick and Breathless, I never honestly felt that Breathless was an option for Dick, the way he lived his life. So those stakes were kind of low, you know what I mean? And those scenes felt kind of wasted. I wish there was actual chemistry there, even though they were dating at the time. I wish there was actual chemistry there, or like an actual threat that he would leave Tess Trueheart, or she was more adversarial somehow. Like, I don't know, but that's what I felt the issues were. Do you guys have comments on that?
For me, rewatching it, especially within the last year, the big issue was the plot, which was kind of, to me, almost kind of a mess. I mean, it felt really jumbled at the end of the day. It felt like there were a lot of disconnected elements. And it didn't bother me when I was a kid, obviously. I mean, I was really drawn into certain action sequences, and I really enjoyed the ending. And this time around, it's like it almost, to me, felt slower. It almost got bogged down in a lot of pointlessness to me. But but it's such an interesting movie to watch. Like, as a visual media, it's just the most interesting, fascinating thing to watch. So I couldn't even, I was still going to watch it.
It sounds like we're in agreement. Like, the plot was a concern, I mean... Yeah. I feel like that was an issue, but I mean, and I feel like the kid and those gangster motifs are a big part of what I object to about it.
Yeah,
Davie, do you have any memory of the plot enough to comment on it? Or?
I really don't. Sorry.
Man,
Davie,
you're useless to us today.
I am.
What do you remember anything from the movie, just from going to see it? Like, do you have any? Like,
I remember there being a lot of crazy characters and interesting-looking people, but I don't remember much.
Like, I think I was really into gangsters and things at that point, like that's what I was doing for Halloween, was dressing up like a gangster. So, yeah, at that point. So I think that's part of my draw into that whole realm.
I definitely recommend it for our viewing audience. It's worth a look-see, and maybe Davie will rewatch it, and then we'll talk about it again and see what Davie thinks. It'll be shorter though, because Davie only uses 3 words at a time anyway.
I'm going to go on and on.
Yeah, we'll see. I bet. He's going to come back with, it's too bright. It's too colorful. It's too colorful.
Too many colors. Too many colors.
Look at dungeons are supposed to be dark, guys. I don't want to,
He's sticking with it.
Generally, there was in-studio lighting inside a medieval castle.
He's talking about The Lion and Winter, episode 27.3. You can see us making fun of him then. It's time now. We're about 12 minutes late. It's time for my top 5. Top 5 movies starring Harrison Ford. That's what these guys wanted to see. Now, I want to be very clear about this. When we did the Marlon Brando top 5, it's the only time we did a top 5 featuring an actor. We talked about I opted to do the best films that Brando was in, not necessarily Brando's best performances. Here, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to count down Harrison Ford's top 5 best performances, not necessarily the top 5 best movies he was in. And I think the difference is, it's a choice, but also Brando is a great actor who's great in almost so many things that he's in, and he's known for being a great actor. Whereas Ford is not as much. He's not given as much credit for his performances, but he's in all these iconic movies of all time. And I just want to point out that it is almost sad to some degree that he turned down the role in Steven Soderbergh's Traffic. He was initially asked to be Michael Douglas's role in Traffic, and he turned that down. And he would have been so good in that that I wished he'd have taken that role, because I feel like he would have knocked it out of the park. And so I also, trying to do work for this top 5, I watched Hollywood Homicide and Frantic, 2 Harrison Ford movies I haven't seen, just in case they might make the top 5, and who knows, maybe they will. But I had not seen them before, and I watched them just for my top 5 tonight. Have you guys seen either of those movies, Hollywood Homicide or Frantic?
I have not.
These guys supposedly watch movies, everybody, so who knows? And they were allowed to watch rated R movies before I was, so anyway.
They let you do that now, or?
Incidentally, very similar to The Nice Guys in some ways, so chew on that while I do my number 5 film. This film is from a script from a young writer by the name of Jeffrey Abrams. Now he goes by JJ. And that film is celebrating its 25-year anniversary this year. Does anybody recognize this film?
I mean, I know, but that's cheating.
Because I sent you the photos, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't know what this film is?
Is that regarding Henry?
Regarding Henry. Look, I like the film. It made my top 10 of 1991. I acknowledge that it sometimes teeters into sentimentality, but Ford himself is pretty spot on. It's some of the best range he's shown in a single performance. And for those of you who don't know, at one point he's this high-powered, sort of crooked lawyer who gets shot in the head, and in his rehabilitation he has amnesia, and he has to sort of redefine who he is. And he didn't like, as he finds more and more about himself. He was shot by John Leguizamo, by the way, but that's beside the point. He learns he doesn't like himself and tries to redefine who he was. And he's charming and heartbreaking after the shooting. This is a film directed by Mike Nichols, and again, as we said, written by young J.J. Abrams. And his rehabilitation is quite beautiful and childlike, and he offers pathos, humor, and hope all simultaneously in I think what is a pretty special performance that's somewhat forgotten. You guys, neither of you have seen it, right?
I've seen it.
All right, Davie, what do you got?
I like the movie. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I've seen it. It was on cable a lot when I was younger, so it's good. It's a feel-good movie, definitely.
You have not seen it, J Money?
No, it sounds pretty melodramatic, is what I would say.
That's good word for it. Yeah.
I think it walks that line sometimes, but I mean, Annette Bening's in it. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's good.
Bill Pope. Bill Pope? Oh, shoot, I forgot his name. Bill Nunn. Bill Nunn is his name. And he's really good in it. It has a lot of humor. I would say with under Mike Nichols' direction, it's not that melodramatic. It's a movie Mike Nichols did right after Postcards from the Edge. We talked about that movie a lot in our 1990 in review show, which if you haven't seen, by the way, you all should go out and see that one. And I'm talking to you, Davie Joe, and J Money as well. You should watch it too.
I saw it in the theater. Remember?
No, I know. You should rewatch it though, so you remember it better. No, I'm saying you should watch the 1990 review show. Is what I'm saying.
Oh.
Oh yeah, it's really good. I rewatched it recently. I enjoyed it. Anyway, look. All right. So this is my number 4. Look, Han Solo is an iconic character. I think it's really, and iconic characters just don't happen. And out of all the Star Wars movies, this is the most screen time that Han Solo had, and easily the best work he individually has as a character. And I think once Lucas realized what he could do, he gave him more to do in second installment, or episode 5. For those of you who are very particular. Look, he's heroic, hilarious, and romantic, all wrapped into one package. And he has a dark ending in this movie. It probably didn't hurt that Empire had a different director. I think one thing you'll notice in all these films is that in this top 5 is really strong directors, that really guided Harrison Ford. Because I actually don't think he's got a lot of confidence in his acting ability or his range, which is why he turned down Traffic to begin with. But under good directors, he can do a lot. I saw J Money smile when I brought up Empire, so I assume that means he disagrees. But I mean, I think that I don't know. I think there's something. I think that it takes a certain amount of charm, charisma, and skill to pull off a Han Solo and to make him as iconic as he was.
No, I wasn't disagreeing. It sounded like you were almost being apologetic that it fell so low on your list.
Oh no! I mean, I expected trouble for. I mean, if it were his best movies of all time, it would be higher. But I mean, I think some of these other performances are more deep. For example.
Yeah, I mean, if you had picked Jedi, then I would have made fun of you. But no, there's no shame in Empire. That's okay.
Davy Joe, where are you at? Do you disagree?
No, not at all. If anything, I might have made it higher.
Well, let's see if you still feel that way after these next few on the list. Okay. I mean, but again, higher in terms of performances?
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see, though. We'll see.
Well, I mean, I'm going to get a lot of flack for this one, probably, but I really urge you guys to watch it. And this is one example. I mean, I just talked about how Ford needs a good director to guide him. And I'm not saying this next director is a bad director, but he's not as much of an actor's director. And I feel like this performance is rare in his career in the sense that it's all him. All his research, all his detail, the nuance that he added. Makeup helps to some degree too, but it's a rare late Ford performance that hits all the right notes, and I think should have been Oscar nominated, quite frankly. This is the most recent film on the list, and it was a return to form for him. This is. Do you guys know what this is?
No.
Not even you, J Money?
Well, again, it's not quite fair to ask me.
Oh, right, you've seen it. This is him playing baseball icon Branch Rickey in 42.
No.
The Jackie Robinson story. And I mean, like, we talked about Michelle Williams' complete transformation, and that's true for Ford here too. J Money, I assume because it's baseball, you didn't watch it.
That is absolutely correct.
And I don't want to defend the movie at all. Like, I don't think it's a great movie, and it's sort of there. It should have been better. It's an important story, and I love the story and what it could have been, and the movie disappointed. But who did not disappoint, the main thing in the movie that didn't disappoint is Harrison Ford here as Branch Rickey. And Branch Rickey's possibly the most important person in the history of baseball. Not only did he integrate the major leagues by signing Jackie Robinson, but he also created the farm system. He created the idea of minor leagues. So many important contributions to the sport from this person, but I mean, Harrison Ford gets everything little detail, and especially him in his old age, it's a really interesting combination of Ford, because he's important and he's smart, but he's also cranky at this point. It's a detailed, measured, and carefully constructed performance, and unlike a lot of the other things that he's done. So, David Joe, you never saw it either?
No, I haven't seen that one.
It's a shock.
Is there a reason that you didn't?
No, not. When did it come out? What year was it?
It seems like something that you would.
Yeah, what year was that?
Just a couple years ago. I want to say 2012, maybe 2013.
Yeah, I don't know. I would like to see it, definitely.
Well, maybe we can talk about it on a second run sometime.
Okay.
Add it to the list. Was that Davey Joe? J Money?
2013.
2013. Oh, look at that, our research expert.
That's right.
All right. We've talked about this next film before because it came up in a top 5 that we did when we did our top 5 films by Australian-born filmmakers.
I knew you were going to do this.
Why wouldn't I do this? It's the only Oscar nomination of Harrison Ford's career. He did get a Best Actor nomination for this in 1985. It's also quite possibly the best script he's ever been involved with, which doesn't take away from the performance. Davie Joe, is there a reason that you hung your head on this?
It's never been a favorite of mine.
Interesting. Do you think he? I mean, but he's great in it, is he not?
No, Harrison Ford. I've never had a problem with him in anything. It's fine. I don't know what it is about this movie. It's just I got to see it again. Maybe it's been a long time. It has been a long time.
I think it's a pretty fabulous movie, and it's on my top 100. And I think he's awesome in it. I think that he does a great job of underplaying this role. He's balancing the need for justice versus his fear, his rage, his discovery of a different culture, and the process of falling for someone that he probably shouldn't. And so there's a lot going on in this character, and he manages it all in a way that he doesn't in a lot of his other performances. It's a different, more realistic kind of hero from the rest of his work. I believe you're a fan of this movie, aren't you, J Money?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think Davie Joe has a problem with the Amish, is what it sounds like.
He is from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, exactly. I think this whole subject is like a trigger for him, basically, and he can't breach the subject.
Okay.
But can you talk about his performance at all?
No, I can talk about Davie Joe as much as you want. His performance in this is it's good. Thumbs up. Okay, seriously, it's a very strong performance. It's a lot of him negotiating territory, like you're talking about, and I appreciate that. I guess it is relatively played back, considering some of the other performances we're talking about, and I can see why maybe it's the one that sticks out to people on an Oscar level. There's a gravitas and seriousness to the actual subject that seems different than some of the other more iconic roles that he's played.
Oh, you're done. Okay, so I'll go. No, I mean, I guess I agree with all that. And we'll see at the end if you feel like it's among the strongest, if you agree with those Oscar voter people. And so here's where I'm going to go with what I think is the best performance of his career. And it's not going to surprise you, and I think at least Davie will he'll agree with this one. Now, I know that you might suggest that I have bias towards this movie, but I really think I'm being objective, because I do think this performance is underrated. And, my note is something I said about Empire. Same thing. I mean, creating iconic characters, it doesn't just fall out of trees. This doesn't just happen. I mean, there's a lot on the page, but it's Indy's gait, G-A-I-T. You know what I mean? It's his mannerisms. It's his delivery. It's his expressions. They're all creations from this guy right here. He invented these things that would become iconic. And Indy goes, and he's incredibly consistent as this character. Obviously, he brings a lot of himself to it, but I mean, again, I think that Atticus Finch, we said, was the greatest hero of all time. He won an Oscar. Gregory Peck won an Oscar for his performance as Atticus Finch, and I would argue that this is maybe a better performance, quite frankly, because I think that Atticus Finch, as great, as cool a guy as he is as a character, the character's sort of one note. He doesn't have an arc, really. Whereas Indy goes through a lot. And also he's a reluctant hero at times, too, which I think is kind of interesting. I think it's taken for granted because of how well known it is and how successful the movie is, how popcorn, it's taken for granted, but how popcorn it's assumed that it is, I should say. But it needs to be taken into consideration that he was creating this from scratch. Davie Joe, I think you're on board with me.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
you feel better about this list now?
I mean, I knew this. And don't take this the wrong way. I knew this was going to be number one, and that's great. I mean, it's a good decision.
You were worried that Witness was going to be number one, weren't you? You were a little worried.
I was hoping it wouldn't be there at all. But that's fine.
Wow.
That's fine.
That's anti-Witness feelings.
And you missed one that I really was counting on you to throw in there.
Okay, I'm waiting. Maybe I have the photo.
Presumed Innocent.
Oh, well, I have the photo from our 1990 review show. I just watched that for our 1990 review show, so it's fairly recent. I don't think he's that good in it, quite frankly.
Okay.
I mean, I remember we talked about the cinematography of the movie. I like the cinematography a lot. Gordon Willis, but I don't think he himself brings that much to Presumed Innocent personally. So you're saying you do, or are you saying?
I do. I remember thinking that he was great in that movie. But it's been a long time since I've seen it. So.
Well, before we get to the things that I missed, J Money, what about Raiders here?
Well, I guess I would echo Davie Joe in saying that it's not really a surprise. I kind of assumed it would probably be at your top when you declare that a movie is your favorite movie of all time. Well, probably just give it
that's one of the reasons why I made it about the performances, and it's this one between this and Witness. It's close. It's close between Raiders and Witness, I think.
That's fair.
But I mean, like, if I were to include, if this were about Harrison Ford's greatest films, then I mean, Raiders would obviously be 1. I would have Empire at 2, Witness at 3. I would have Blade Runner at 4, and Blade Runner is not a performance-driven movie. You know what I mean? Like, Blade Runner's a great movie.
Okay. I kind of disagree with you a little bit about that one, but that's okay. That's okay.
About that it's a great movie, or that it's not performance-driven?
That his performance in it isn't noteworthy.
Wait.
I didn't say it wasn't noteworthy. It just wasn't top 5, and it wasn't. I just saying I feel like it's not a performance-driven movie. I feel like the other elements sort of suppress the performances. I feel like they're very puppeteered performances. Okay, well, I mean, like, that's fine. You disagree. And the other Harrison Ford, he has a small role in this, but I mean, like, The Conversation would be my 5th on the list of movies that he appears in.
There is one more that I would have definitely put on the list that I think would qualify for your conversation, but I'm not sure how you feel about it.
Yeah?
Mosquito Coast.
Okay. I mean, I thought about Mosquito Coast. And that is a movie where he definitely gets pushed by Peter Weir, same director as Witness. Sorry, Davie Joe. And Peter Weir doesn't very frequently work with the same actors. So it was unique that he worked with Harrison Ford twice. I feel like he's pushing in that movie. Like, I feel like the role is there for him to have a good performance or a great performance or a detailed performance, but I feel like he doesn't hit it. I think it's a foul tip to put it in terms that Davie would understand.
Okay. Yeah, I guess from my point of view, it's like it's one of the few roles that we ever see Harrison Ford really kind of break down, and almost in a negative way. He doesn't generally put himself out there in that way.
He almost loses his mind a little bit, but I'm not sure I completely buy it. I mean, it's a film where Harrison Ford tests his range, for sure, and I'm not sure he's successful there.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah.
So, he does some good things. I just don't know the whole. I mean, there's some moments that are really strong, and it's been a while, but as I recall, it's not as cohesive a performance and a characterization as some of these other ones. Okay, sure. What I thought you guys would miss is this one. I thought you guys would all want this one to appear. He got a Golden Globe nomination for this.
Yeah, he's good. Fine, but then throw in Clear and Present Danger. I mean, then throw in any other.
No. He's no good as Jack Ryan. I don't want any part of that. I mean, I love him. And growing up, he was my absolute favorite actor. Indiana Jones had a lot to do with that, but Harrison Ford. I mean, like, I was begging to see Presumed Innocent when it first came out. It was rated R.
No way.
Yeah, I was not allowed. But then, it was. But I mean, like, I swear to God, that was like the first rated R movie that I was like felt desperate to see. Wow. And it was mainly because of Harrison Ford. Now, I don't think about actors as much as I used to. I don't think about. But if I had a favorite, it's Harrison Ford. And I want to make one last comparison before we wrap it up, and we're over at this point. But Harrison Ford is very. I think you can draw a straight line between him and John Wayne. There's the heroic point of view, and also the fact that they like to stay within themselves. They like not to test themselves too much. There's a confidence thing at work there, but also, as far as John Wayne was concerned, he felt like he knew what his audience wanted, and he wanted to stay successful, and so he wanted to deliver what his audience wanted. Actors today, most of them want to test themselves and branch out. Harrison Ford's not like that, and he doesn't get much credit as an actor as a result, because there's a lot of his films, particularly in the last 15 years, that sort of resemble each other. Like Air Force One's good, but I mean, like between Air Force One to Firewall to you know what I mean? Like there's sort of variations on a theme, and what he can do, things he feel like he can do well. But a lot of his performances are similar. But I feel like these 5 stand out. I mean, the big X factor is 42. That's where I think he really challenges himself and succeeds. But these other films are just Harrison Ford doing what he can do really well. So regarding Henry, I think he pushes himself too. That shows a lot of range, I think. And there's schmaltz. I'm not gonna say there's not, but so anyway, that's the Harrison Ford top 5. Do you guys feel okay about it overall? I mean, like I sense a little disappointment.
No. It's good.
Would you have the same number 1, Davie?
Yes.
And what was the one that you wanted me to include again that I didn't?
Presumed Innocent.
Presumed Innocent. Okay. And what do you think? Witness you don't think belonged? What else didn't belong?
No, it's Witness. But here I gotta be honest. I gotta see Witness again. It's just not a movie that I liked very much. But it's been a long time, so.
Especially coming from Philadelphia, I feel like you would appreciate that movie.
Yeah. Why? Yeah. No, I mean I'm from Central Pennsylvania, so even more. But
yeah, there's a lot of baggage there, basically.
No, it just.
And for J Money, we're missing Mosquito Coast, and and out of things you've seen, was there anything you feel like didn't belong?
No, not necessarily. I guess I don't know. I mean, there's so many things to pick through in terms of his career. Nah. I don't know if I would have thrown Empire in there. You made a case for it. That's certainly fine. I certainly see your point. I don't know if I would have ended up picking Empire or any of the Star Wars movies, really.
Over Mosquito Coast.
No, I think if I was going to go in that route, I probably would actually go in the Blade Runner route as opposed to Empire. I think that there was actually more depth in what he was doing in Blade Runner than what was happening in Empire.
Well, that might be a larger discussion for another time because I think Rutger Hauer is really strong in Blade Runner. I love that speech at the end. And obviously I think it's a great movie. I just mentioned that. But discussion for another time. Now it's time for the recap of the whole evening. So onus is really on Davie Joe here. He looks confused. Davie, so your job now. I want you if we can make this, because it's the sound off, not just a list of the movies. If we can make this, if you can sort of summarize like what was said. We talked about Dick Tracy and J Money and JB really liked. If you can sort of sum up how he felt about these movies. Anyway, take from the whole evening. Let's go over some of the movies that we brought up.
The whole evening?
Yeah, right. This is the sound off. This is the end of the night.
Okay.
I told you that people. I got a picture. Did I tell J Money that? Maybe it's just J Money. People sent me a picture of the notes they took during last time's recap. So people, this is the time where people are grabbing their pens and they're taking notes. Maybe I can find it and I'll show you right now. It might take a second. Hopefully not. Oh, where is that?
Davie Joe, you should jump in one way or the other.
Right,
yeah, I guess so.
Let's see if I remember. All right, so we noticed that the Notebook was what made Ryan Gosling such a big star. He said something about Midnight Run in 48 Hours.
We compared them to The Nice Guys, yeah?
That's right. The Prince and the Showgirl is the movie that My Week with Marilyn was, the movie that was being made in that movie.
Has anybody seen that movie?
No, I really want to now.
I have not. I am interested in seeing that.
Yeah.
You talked about what's her name, Mara's performance in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo as being
Rooney Mara.
Even better than Marilyn's.
What do you think about that, Davie Joe?
I haven't seen Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, believe it or not.
You know who I saw it with?
Oh, yeah? Was it her?
This guy right here.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
all right.
That's
Do you
right.
remember why that was special, J Money?
It was it the 100th something show?
Yeah, it was the 100th movie I saw with our mutual friend. The 100th
Yeah, that's right.
movie. So we made a big deal of it. Go ahead, Davey Joe. Sorry.
The Woman in Gold. Who directed that? Was that someone?
Simon Curtis, same director as My Week with Marilyn, which is why.
Okay, yeah, and I think I'm the only one of the three of us that saw Woman in Gold.
Do you like Woman in Gold?
It was all right. It was good. It was good enough.
Was it better than My Week with Marilyn?
No, it's not. But it's good. It's good. Yeah, The Big Short, Mad Max, something about that. Whatever.
We talked about them in terms of editing, types of editing.
There you go. Empire Strikes Back. What was the context there?
Harrison Ford top 5?
No. This is way before that.
Well, it's also Harrison Ford top 5.
And Stagecoach and E.T. Oh, we're talking about music, maybe?
We're talking about music with E.T., the score of E.T. compared to the score of Raiders, and Stagecoach was the stunt from under the truck stunt was stolen from the under the carriage stunt from Stagecoach.
Okay. Goodfellas. You I think it was just you were referring back to an old episode. You remember what episode that was? That's recent.
Episode 26.3. 26.3. Goodfellas. And for those of us that, if you want to hear more about Stagecoach, we talk about it a little more in depth in episode 2.
There you go.
Just a little.
Okay. Actually, yeah, it is pretty brief.
Yeah.
Back in the day, we did classics very, very briefly.
Yeah.
So then we're going through the brackets where we talked about Titanic, and it went up against. What did it go up against?
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life, right? And then It's a Wonderful Life, of course, won that round, and then All About Eve was against Raiders of the Lost Ark. Raiders of the Lost Ark won that. So then It's a Wonderful Life robbed Raiders of the Lost Ark. And one of the worst travesties ever. And then we talked about how awesome it was.
Well, since you bring it up.
Then we talked about how awesome it was when Purple Rain beat Oklahoma. That was awesome.
Well, I didn't give that away.
We talked about Revenge. That was one of the second run discussions.
Yeah. There you can see the bracket for our audience. You can see the bracket in full of what happened on the classic broadcast. But yeah, okay, go ahead.
There you go. Revenge you did not like, but Dick Tracy you said was good. Frantic and Hollywood Homicide were movies that you caught up with just so you could be more informed with your Harrison Ford list. Regarding Henry was on the list. Somehow Postcards from the Edge got mentioned in the middle of that. Probably same year as Regarding Henry, right? I'm guessing.
It was the same director as Regarding Henry, and the Regarding Henry was his very next film after Postcards.
Okay. Empire Strikes Back again. That's top 5. 42. Again, he was in that. That's his most out of his comfort zone. I think we said something like that, right?
I'm glad that Davey only sort of pays attention.
Presumed Innocent was the movie that should have been on the list but wasn't. Blade Runner, that was a source of some controversy tonight. Whether or not Harrison Ford's performance should have merited a top 5 ranking. It did not.
You skipped number 2 in the top 5, but that's okay.
We're still talking. Mosquito Coast was one that J Money said should have been on the list. Witness is, of course, was your number 2. Movie you like quite a bit in your top 100, so really people should check that out. I can let you know that you're wrong about that.
Davey might check it out again.
Yeah, no, I should do that. The Fugitive was one that did not make the list also. Clear and Present Danger, you don't like his performance, Harrison Ford's performance. And then,
I don't like the movie either.
Or the movie, okay. And then Firewall was another same old kind of Harrison Ford in his comfort zone type film.
I also mentioned Air Force One in that same breath, but that's
Yeah. There you go. I don't know why I didn't write that down. Air Force One.
See, so the audience, now you have a complete list of the films that we talk about and discussed and what we thought about them. I have heard back from some of you. Some of you have followed our show all the way back to my old show, Film Revision, and I heard back. Some of you looked back at our Best of 1983 show from Film Revision, and that made you want to watch The Right Stuff. And I heard somebody email me back or tweeted that after watching The Right Stuff, that's the favorite film that we've talked about or I've talked about that they've watched, from based on our show. So they really like The Right Stuff. So people are listening to our recommendations, Davie Joe. This is worthwhile.
No, I like it.
J Money, how do you feel about the evening overall?
It was fine. It's time
really?
to wrap it up, though. Let's wrap it
You
up.
don't feel you feel like mediocre about it?
Oh, no. Fine for me is, like, good. I don't get very emotive, JB. Fine for me is top-notch.
Do you have a favorite part of the evening?
My favorite part was when I was drinking beer, which is no longer here because I drank it all. So
You drank it all for a drunk Davie joke.
that was really fun. I'll make that joke again more likely than not.
Yeah. I think we should keep it up. It's a thing now.
I have a good chug every time you introduce Davie Joe.
Drinking games on No Name Cinema Society. How do you feel about the evening overall, Davie Joe?
It was good. It was a good time.
He says that every week, ladies and
let's
gentlemen.
do it again. Let's do it again.
Let's do it again. Interesting segue. You know what, J Money, if we're gonna do one of these for every week, we should probably put the date on. No?
Yeah, we probably should. We could do that.
Popstar is our next movie. I've already seen it, guys. Are you jealous?
So jealous.
Why aren't we getting any of these invites?
Because you live in Charlotte.
They don't know that. Well, I guess they do. I don't know. Why would they know that?
If they watch the show, they do. Because I think I say it every week. But also, yeah, I'm the contact. So anyway, Popstar, Lonely Island has a movie. And it opens June 3rd. We're going to talk about it Monday, June 6th at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. And we're going to have a classic at 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. An indie at 8:30 Eastern. Excuse me, a classic at 9 o'clock Eastern. And, of course, our sound off. And we're about to talk about, once we go off air, J Money will tell me what he wants the sound off to be. So Popstar is the movie, Andy Samberg and company. And we're going to talk about that June 6th. Tune in now. In the meantime, subscribe to our page and check out our Facebook. Yo.
And Twitter.
Yeah, whatever. No, and Twitter. But yeah, keep up tweeting me. I appreciate it, everybody. In the meantime, this meeting of the No Name Cinema Society is adjourned.